Hey guys, glad you could make it tonight. We're going to be talking about the Knights Templar. We see them as guardians of the Holy Grail, but the brutal reality is that they began as a tiny security patrol for pilgrims, and their secret, shadowy rise to power had less to do with ancient relics and more to do with inventing international banking. But first, it's time to lay down your own sword and shield for the night. Find your most comfortable position, let your body feel heavy, and allow the day's battles to fade away. If these calm tales from history help you on your own quest for rest, a simple like is always appreciated. It's always incredible to see our global commandery, so be sure to tell us in the comments where you're listening from tonight. Ready? Take a slow breath in and let it go. Good. We are travelling to the heart of the Crusader kingdoms, a land of simmering violence and fervent faith. The year is 1125. You are a knight with no land, no title, and no future. And you are about to join the most radical new startup in Christendom. You are the second son of a minor French nobleman, and in the rigid world of feudal Europe, being a second son is a curse. Your older brother will inherit everything: the castle, the lands, the title. You will inherit a good horse, a suit of second-hand chainmail, and a set of skills that are only useful for violence. Your future is a bleak and limited one. You can sell your sword as a mercenary, a life of endless bloodshed and little honour. Or you can renounce the world and join a monastery, a life of prayer and quiet desperation. You are a man caught between two worlds, the world of the warrior and the world of the monk, and you belong in neither. But you have heard whispers, strange stories coming back from the Holy Land. Tales of a new, radical brotherhood of knights based in Jerusalem. They are called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. They are men who have somehow managed to be both. They are warrior monks, men who have taken the sacred vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but who have not put down their swords. It is a controversial, almost heretical idea. How can a man serve God by killing? But to you, a landless knight with a strong arm and a restless soul, it sounds like a solution. It sounds like a purpose. You sell what little you have, and you join a group of pilgrims heading for the Holy Land. The journey is long, and it is a brutal education in the realities of the world. The sea voyage is a miserable, cramped, and stomach-churning affair. The overland march is a hot, dusty ordeal through lands plagued by bandits and disease. You see the bleached bones of less fortunate travellers by the side of the road. This is why the Templars exist. The very danger of this journey is the problem they have sworn to solve. After months of travel, you finally see it. Jerusalem, the holy city. It is a bustling, chaotic, and incredibly diverse city. A tinderbox of different faiths and cultures, all living together under the tense rule of a Christian king. The air is thick with the smells of spices, incense, and dust. You make your way through the crowded, narrow streets, your European sensibilities assaulted by the vibrant, alien world of the Near East. You are not here on a pilgrimage. You are here for a job interview. You seek out the headquarters of the Templars. They are not housed in a mighty fortress. Their base of operations is a wing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, the site of the biblical Temple of Solomon, a place given to them by the King of Jerusalem himself. You are brought before their leader, a grim, determined knight from Champagne named Hugues de Payens. He and the handful of other founding knights are not the rich, powerful figures of later legend. They are poor. So poor, in fact, that their original seal depicts two knights riding a single horse, a symbol of their poverty. Hugues de Payens looks you over. He does not ask about your noble lineage or your skill in tournaments. He asks about your faith, your willingness to endure hardship, and your commitment to a life of service. He explains the Order's mission: to protect the Christian pilgrims who are being robbed and killed on the treacherous roads of the Holy Land. It is a humble and deeply practical mission. This is not about seeking glory in great battles. It is about being a holy bodyguard, a sacred security patrol. You agree. You are ready to trade your pointless worldly ambitions for this new sacred purpose. You kneel before the altar in their simple chapel, and here you take your secret oaths. They are not the mystical heretical vows of later myth. They are the 3 traditional monastic vows. You swear an oath of poverty, renouncing all personal property. You swear an oath of chastity, renouncing the company of women. And you swear an oath of obedience, giving your will entirely over to the Master of the Order. You are no longer your own man. You are a Knight Templar. Your new life is a strange and demanding duality. You are now both a monk and a soldier, and your daily routine is a jarring combination of the two. Your day begins long before dawn, with the ringing of the bell for matins. You and your new brothers gather in the cold, dark chapel for the first of the day's prayer services. You chant the psalms in Latin, your rough warrior's voice blending with the others in a solemn, unified prayer. You are a man of God. But as soon as the service is over, you do not return to quiet contemplation. You go to the armory. You strap on your mail hauberk, a heavy, stifling garment of thousands of interlinked iron rings. You spend the next several hours in the dusty courtyard, the training ground. Here, under the watchful eye of a veteran sergeant, you practice the brutal art of war. You train with the heavy sword and the kite-shaped shield. You practice fighting on foot and, most importantly, on horseback. The Templars are heavy cavalry, and their primary battle tactic is the devastating, disciplined charge. You and your brothers practice this charge over and over, a thunderous, unstoppable wave of armoured men and horses. You are a soldier of Christ. The rest of your day is a similar blend of the sacred and the profane. You eat your meals in the refectory in complete silence, listening to a brother read from the scriptures. The food is simple, the rules strict. Meat is forbidden on most days of the week. You sleep not in a private chamber, but in a communal dormitory, on a simple straw pallet, your sword and shield by your side. You are forbidden from the worldly pleasures that other knights take for granted. There is no hunting, no falconry, no gambling, no carousing in taverns. Your life is a stripped-down, brutally efficient regimen of prayer, training, and eating, all in silence. It is a hard life, a life of constant discipline and self-denial, but it is also a life of profound purpose. You are no longer a man without a future. You are part of a brotherhood, an elite, dedicated force with a clear and righteous mission. You have traded your personal freedom for a place in God's holy army. After months of grueling training, you are assigned your first real duty, and it is the very job for which the Order was founded. A large group of pilgrims has arrived in Jerusalem, and they wish to travel to the Jordan River to be baptized at the site where Jesus himself was baptized. The road from Jerusalem down to Jericho and the Jordan Valley is notoriously dangerous. It is a hot, dusty, winding track through a barren wilderness, a perfect landscape for bandits and Bedouin raiders to lay an ambush. Your task is to serve as their escort. You and a small contingent of a dozen other Templar knights are assigned to the caravan. You are not a glorious army. You are a small, professional security detail. You ride at the front, the back, and along the flanks of the long, slow-moving column of pilgrims. The sun is a merciless, white-hot hammer. The heat trapped inside your chainmail and helmet, is suffocating. Dust, kicked up by hundreds of feet and hooves, coats your throat and stings your eyes. Your senses are on high alert. Every narrow ravine, every cluster of rocks is a potential ambush site. You are constantly scanning the barren hillsides, your hand never far from the hilt of your sword. This is not the chivalrous combat of song and story. This is a tense, nerve-wracking police action. The pilgrims, a mix of devout nobles and simple peasants, look at you and your brothers with a mixture of awe and gratitude. You are their guardians, their shield against the ever-present dangers of this holy and very violent land. The journey is successful. You deliver your flock of pilgrims safely to the Jordan River and back to Jerusalem without incident. There is no great victory feast. There is no glory. There is only the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. You have fulfilled your vow. You have protected the poor and the weak. It is a humble, gritty, and deeply important mission. This is the reality of being a Templar. It is not about grand charges and epic battles. It is about the slow, patient, and dangerous work of making the roads safe. The Order grows. Your reputation for courage and discipline spreads throughout Christendom. More knights, men like you, flock to join. But with growth comes a new and very worldly problem. Money. The Order needs funds to arm and equip its knights, to feed its horses, to maintain its castles. The solution to this problem will be the true source of the Templars' incredible power, and it has nothing to do with swords. It will be their invention of banking. After a few years of service in the Holy Land, you are sent back to Europe on a mission for the Order. You are to work at the Paris Temple, the Templars' great European headquarters. And it is here that you are initiated into the other, more secret side of the Templar enterprise, their vast financial network. You watch as a wealthy merchant about to go on pilgrimage enters the temple. He does not want to carry his life savings in a chest of gold on the dangerous roads to Jerusalem. So, he deposits his gold with your order in Paris. In exchange, he is given not a receipt, but a letter of credit. It is a piece of parchment written in a complex cipher detailing the amount of his deposit. When the merchant arrives in Jerusalem, he can present this letter at the Templar headquarters there, and he will be given the equivalent amount in local currency minus a service fee. It is a revolutionary idea. It is the world's first international banking system, a network of secure branches that can transfer funds across vast distances without physically moving any gold. You realize that the Templars are not just warriors. They are master logisticians. They have created a system that is not only incredibly useful, but also incredibly profitable. Kings, nobles, and merchants all begin to use the Templars as their bankers. The Order becomes a vast multinational corporation, a depository for the wealth of Europe. You, who have sworn a personal vow of poverty, now find yourself part of the richest and most financially powerful institution in the world. A strange and unsettling paradox. You are back in the Holy Land, a seasoned warrior now. The strategic situation has become more dire. The great Sultan, Saladin, has united the Muslim forces and is threatening the very existence of the Crusader kingdoms. The days of small-scale pilgrim protection are over. Now you must fight in great, pitched battles for the survival of Outremer. You are no longer just a bodyguard. You are the elite, heavy cavalry of the Christian armies. The morning of a great battle is a time of solemn ritual. You and your brothers attend a final mass, confess your sins, and receive communion. There is a sense of grim, fatalistic purpose in the air. You do not expect to survive. You are forbidden by your rule from retreating unless the odds are greater than 3-1. Your purpose is to charge, to break the enemy line, or to die trying, achieving the glorious martyrdom that will guarantee you a place in heaven. You put on your armour piece by painstaking piece. Over your mail you pull on a simple white surcoat, emblazoned with the stark red cross that is your order's famous symbol. You mount your great warhorse. You and 200 of your brothers form up in a tight, wedge-shaped formation. You are the tip of the Crusader spear. The battle begins. The air is filled with the thunder of hooves, the blare of trumpets, and the terrifying war cries of the Saracen army. You wait for the signal from your master. Then it comes. The great banner of the Templars is raised, and you charge. The earth trembles. It is a disciplined, unstoppable avalanche of iron and faith. You lower your lance, your body a single unified weapon with your horse. The impact with the enemy line is a chaotic, brutal explosion of splintering wood, screaming men, and dying horses. The reality of a medieval battle is a terrifying, claustrophobic melee of hacking swords, stabbing spears, and sheer bloody confusion. You fight not for land or for glory, but for God, and for the brother to your left and the brother to your right. Decades pass. The world has changed. The Crusader kingdoms have fallen. You are an old man now, a veteran of 100 battles and skirmishes. You are the commander, the preceptor, of a great Templar commandery in the south of France. Your fighting days are over. You are now an administrator, a businessman, a prince of the order. Your commandery is a vast agricultural estate with its own farms, vineyards, and mills. It is a centre of commerce and finance, a local branch of the great Templar Bank. The order has grown beyond anything its poor founders could have imagined. It is a state within a state, with thousands of knights, vast landholdings across Europe, its own fleet of ships, and a fortune that rivals that of kings. You are now a powerful man, a respected figure who advises lords and bishops. But you still live the life of a monk. You still sleep in a communal dormitory. You still eat your simple meals in silence. You still own nothing but your sword and your simple white mantle. It is a profound and deeply strange contradiction. You have taken a vow of personal poverty, yet you spend your days managing immense wealth. You are a man of God, sworn to peace, yet your reputation is built upon the brutal efficiency of your order's military prowess. The humble mission to protect pilgrims has transformed into a global enterprise of finance and power politics. The simple ideals of the early days have become complicated, corrupted, some might say, by the intoxicating temptations of worldly success. You sometimes wonder what old Hugues de Payan would make of it all. You are old now, your body a roadmap of ancient scars, your hands more accustomed to a quill than a sword hilt, and you begin to hear things, dark whispers, strange rumours, coming out of the court of the King of France, Philip the Fair. He is a powerful, ambitious, and deeply indebted monarch, and his biggest creditor is your order. The whispers are of heresy, of blasphemy. They say that the Templars, during their secret initiation ceremonies, deny Christ, that they spit on the cross, that they worship a demonic head called Baphomet. You know, these rumours are insane, fantastical lies. Your initiation was a simple, pious swearing of monastic vows, but the stories persist. They are fueled by the very things that have made your order so powerful. Your wealth, your power, and your secrecy. Your network of commanderies, your private chapter meetings, your financial dealings. These things, which are the bedrock of your organisation, now make you seem sinister, a shadowy conspiracy. You feel a cold sense of dread. You realize that your order's greatest strengths have become its greatest vulnerabilities. You have become too rich, too powerful. You operate beyond the control of kings, answerable only to the Pope. And in the ruthless world of European politics, to be that powerful and that independent is to be a target. The King of France does not see you as a holy warrior. He sees you as a rival, and more importantly, as a bank that he is determined to break open. The seeds of your order's brutal, fiery, and utterly unjust downfall are being sown, not in the sands of the Holy Land, but in the greedy, paranoid heart of a European king. The poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon were not the guardians of a mystical, ancient secret. They were the inventors of a revolutionary and deeply controversial new idea: the warrior monk. Their story is not one of hidden treasure, but of a 9-man bodyguard that grew, in less than 2 centuries, into the most powerful multinational corporation of the Middle Ages. Their meteoric rise was a testament to their discipline, their faith, and their unexpected genius for finance. Their true secret was never the Holy Grail. It was the invention of the letter of credit, a secret so powerful that it would ultimately inspire the greed and the fear that would lead to their annihilation. There is no structure on Earth more iconic or more mysterious than the Great Pyramids of Giza. They are so immense, so ancient, and so impossibly precise that for centuries people have believed they must have been built by aliens or a lost civilization with forgotten technology. The old and frankly lazy explanation was that they were built by 1 million slaves, groaning under the lash of the pharaoh's whip. But the brutal and far more impressive reality is that the pyramids were built by a massive, well-fed and highly organized workforce of skilled Egyptian laborers. It was a project that was less a miracle and more a masterpiece of project management fueled by bread, beer, and an almost unimaginable amount of backbreaking work. We are travelling back to the very dawn of monumental architecture, to the age of the God Kings. The year is 2580 BC. The reign of the pharaoh Khufu is in full swing, and you, a farmer from a small village on the Nile, have just been called up for national service. The season of Akhet has arrived. The great Nile, the mother of all Egypt, has overflowed her banks, covering your small plot of farmland in a layer of rich, life-giving silt. For the next 4 months, your fields will be a vast, shallow lake. There is no ploughing to be done, no seeds to be sown. This is the season of inundation, a time of enforced idleness for the farmers of Egypt. But the Pharaoh, who is a living God, does not tolerate idleness. His divine will has a use for your strong back and your idle hands. The state scribe arrives in your village. His reed pen and papyrus scroll a symbol of an authority you cannot question. He reads the list of names of the men who have been called for their bakhe, their term of compulsory state labour. It is a form of taxation paid not in grain or coin, but in sweat and muscle. Your name is called. A wave of emotions washes over you, a profound sense of duty to your God King, but also a deep, gnawing dread. You have heard the stories of the Pharaoh's great building project at Giza, his horizon of Khufu. It is to be the largest and most magnificent tomb ever constructed, a great stone mountain designed to be his stairway to the heavens. To work on such a project is a sacred duty. But you have also heard the other stories, of the back-breaking labour, the constant danger, the men who go to Giza and never return to their villages. You say goodbye to your family. You are given a ration of bread and dried fish for the journey. You will be gone for the entire season. You join the other conscripted men from your village, and you begin the long journey by boat, up the great river, towards the Giza Plateau. Your first sight of the Giza Plateau is a vision of organised chaos. From miles away you can see it. The great, partially constructed pyramid, a man-made mountain of limestone already dominating the western horizon. As you get closer, the scale of the operation is almost impossible to comprehend. The plateau is a sprawling construction site, a vast, dusty city of industry, teeming with tens of thousands of men. The air is thick with a fine, white limestone dust that coats everything, and the sound is a constant low roar, the chipping of chisels, the scraping of sledges, and the rhythmic chanting shouts of thousands of working men. You are not herded into a squalid slave camp. You are led to a meticulously planned permanent city, built specifically to house and support the pyramid builders. This city, known to archaeologists as Hayt el Ghurab, the Wall of the Crow, is a wonder in itself. You are assigned to one of the long, gallery-like buildings that serve as your barracks, a clean and orderly space you will share with 40 other men from your region. You see the evidence of the immense logistical machine that supports this project. You pass by the royal bakeries, huge industrial facilities with rows of ovens, capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread every day. You see the breweries, providing the thick, nutritious beer that is a staple of the Egyptian diet and a primary source of calories for the workers. This is not the work of slaves being driven by the whip. This is the work of a nation, a massive, state-sponsored project that requires a level of organisation and resource management that is unparalleled in the ancient world. You have not been brought here to die. You have been brought here to work, and the work is about to begin. Your first assignment is in the great limestone quarry at the southern end of the Giza Plateau. This is where the pyramid is born. The main body of the great structure is built from the millions of limestone blocks that are being carved directly from the bedrock on which it stands. Your job is to help quarry these blocks, and you quickly learn that this is a process of brutal, relentless, and painstaking labour. Your tools are not the iron and steel of later ages. Your tools are of a more primitive and far more demanding kind. Your primary tool is a dolerite pounder. It is a round, brutally heavy stone, a little larger than your head, and your job is to smash it over and over against the limestone face of the quarry wall. You are part of a team, and you work in a rhythmic, coordinated chorus of blows, slowly pulverizing the rock, creating a deep trench around the block that is to be removed. The noise is deafening. The fine, white dust fills your nostrils and your lungs, and by the end of the day, you are caked in a ghostly white powder. Once the trench is deep enough, another team of more skilled masons takes over. They use copper chisels to shape the block. Copper is a soft metal. The chisels blunt almost immediately against the harder limestone. A team of smiths works constantly in a nearby forge, resharpening the thousands of chisels that are worn down every single day. Finally, the masons cut small slots into the base of the block. They hammer in wooden wedges, and then they pour water over them. Over the course of a few hours, the wood swells with an incredible, silent force, and with a great, groaning crack, a 2.5-ton block of limestone, a block you have spent a week helping to create, splits from the quarry wall. The work is dangerous. A misplaced blow can send a shard of stone flying like shrapnel. A cracked block can shift unexpectedly, crushing a limb. You see men with missing fingers, with crude splints on their arms. The work is organised, it is skilled, but it is also a brutal, unforgiving assault on the living rock, and on the bodies of the men who are forced to tame it. The 5,000-pound block of limestone that you have just helped to free from the quarry wall is not going to move itself. It must now be transported from the quarry to the base of the pyramid, a journey of nearly half a mile. Your work, gang, is now transformed from quarrymen into haulers. The great block is carefully levered onto a massive wooden sledge. Thick ropes, woven from papyrus reeds, are looped around the front of the sledge, and you and about 100 other men are the engine. You take your place on one of the hauling ropes. The foreman, standing on top of the great block, begins a rhythmic, chanting call. It is a work song, a way to coordinate the immense collective effort that is required. Ooh, he chants, his voice a powerful, resonant baritone. And on the whole, зрение, вы и каждый другой мужчина на канатах тянуть, ваши тела напрягаясь, ваши мышцы кричащие в протест. The sledge groans, and with an agonizing slowness, it begins to move. The journey is a slow, painful procession. You're not just dragging the sledge over rough ground. A special trackway has been built, a road of packed earth and gypsum plaster, to make the journey smoother. In front of the sledge, a man walks backwards, pouring a steady stream of water onto the sand. It is a simple but brilliant piece of engineering. The wet sand provides a much lower friction surface than dry sand, making the sledge far easier to pull. It is still a task of almost unimaginable difficulty. You pull until your shoulders feel like they are being torn from their sockets. The rough papyrus rope cuts into your hands. The sun beats down mercilessly. If a man stumbles and falls, he must scramble out of the way, or be crushed by the men behind him. After what feels like an eternity of this grueling, coordinated strain, the block arrives at the base of the great construction ramp. You have moved a small mountain a distance of 1/2 mile, and there are another 2,300,000 blocks to go. You collapse, exhausted, knowing that tomorrow you will do it all over again. The day's hard labour is finally over. As the sun begins to set, casting a long, sharp shadow from the half-finished pyramid, you and the thousands of other workers trudge back to your city, Hayt el Ghurab. And here, the reality of your life proves to be very different from the later myths of slave-driven misery. You are a conscripted labourer, yes, but you are also a valued state employee, and the state provides for you. You line up at the great communal kitchens and receive your evening ration, and it is a feast, at least compared to the simple fare of your village. You are given several large, round loaves of coarse but nourishing barley bread. Your diet is built on this, and to wash it down, you are given a large jar of beer. The beer is thick, sweet, and unfiltered, more like a thin porridge than the drink we know today. It is not for intoxication. It is a rich source of calories, vitamins, and hydration, the liquid fuel for your hard labour. But your diet is not just bread and beer. The sheer scale of the food production here is staggering. Archaeologists have unearthed the remains of this city, and they have found evidence of industrial-scale bakeries and breweries. They have also found a vast number of animal bones. You, the builders of the pyramids, are being fed a protein-rich diet. You are given a steady supply of fish from the Nile, and most surprisingly, you are given beef. The bones of prime cattle, the best meat, are found in abundance in the workers' city. This is a luxury you would almost never see in your village. The pharaoh understands a simple, pragmatic truth. A well-fed workforce is a productive workforce. After your meal, you can go to the infirmary. The workers' cemeteries nearby show that your life is a hard and dangerous one. The skeletons of the pyramid builders show a high rate of industrial accidents, crushed limbs, fractured skulls, and amputated fingers. But they also show that these injuries were treated. The bones are often expertly set. There is evidence of successful amputations and even brain surgery. You have access to a level of medical care that is unheard of for a common farmer. The state invests in keeping its workforce healthy. You retire to your long, stone-built barracks. You are not a slave in a pit. You are a skilled labourer in a company town, and the company is the divine state of Egypt itself. After several seasons of proving your strength and reliability on the quarrying and hauling crews, you are given a new and far more dangerous assignment. You are promoted to a crew working on the great construction ramp itself. This ramp is the secret to how the pyramids were built. It is a massive, temporary structure, a highway of packed earth, rubble, and desert clay that spirals up the side of the growing pyramid. It is on this great sloping road that the stone blocks make their final ascent. Your job is the same, to pull. But now you are not pulling on flat ground. You are pulling a 2.5-ton block of limestone up a steep and increasingly high incline. The work is exponentially harder. The angle of the ramp is a constant grueling battle against the force of gravity. You and your team must dig your feet into the plastered surface of the ramp, your bodies bent almost parallel to the ground, every muscle straining in a desperate, coordinated effort to keep the great sledge from sliding backwards. The danger is acute and ever-present. A frayed rope could snap. A wooden sledge could crack under the immense strain. A moment of lost coordination, a single man slipping and falling, could break the rhythm and spell disaster. Your greatest fear is a runaway block. If a sledge were to break free, it would become a multi-ton instrument of destruction, hurtling down the ramp, sweeping men and materials before it, leaving a trail of crushed bodies and splintered wood. As you climb higher, a new kind of fear emerges, the fear of heights. The ramp is now hundreds of feet in the air, with no handrails, no safety features. The wind is stronger up here, threatening to unbalance you. From this high perch, you have a breathtaking view of the entire Giza Plateau, of the Nile Valley stretching out to the horizon. But you barely notice it. Your world has shrunk to the few feet of the ramp in front of you, the strain on the rope in your hands, and the hulking mass of stone just behind you. The work is terrifying, but there is also a grim pride in it. You are no longer just a hauler on the ground. You are one of the elite crews, working at the very top, building the Pharaoh's stairway to the stars. You have now been working on the pyramid for several years. You have hauled, you have pulled, you have toiled. But at the top of the great ramp, where the new blocks are being delivered, you bear witness to a level of skill that is almost divine. This is the domain of the master masons, the true artists of the project. While you and the thousands of other labourers are the muscle of the operation, these men are its mind. Their job is to place the millions of stone blocks with a precision that seems impossible. You watch them at work, and it is a humbling sight. They do not have lasers or computer models. Their tools are simple, but incredibly effective. They use plumb bobs, weights on a string, to ensure the walls are perfectly vertical. They use A-frame levels with a plumb line to ensure each course of stones is perfectly flat. They use long, straight sighting rods to ensure the corners are perfectly aligned to the 4 cardinal points. The level of precision they achieve is staggering. The entire base of the Great Pyramid, a structure covering 13 acres, is level to within a single inch. The most awe-inspiring work is the placing of the outer casing stones. These are blocks of fine, white, polished limestone, quarried across the river at Tura and ferried to the site. These stones will form the smooth, gleaming outer skin of the pyramid. You watch as a team of masons guides one of these great casing stones into place. They use no mortar on the joining surfaces. The fit is based on pure precision. They gently rock the massive block back and forth, slowly grinding it into place. until the joint is so perfect that you could not fit a single human hair between the stones. When finished, the entire pyramid will be a single seamless gleaming white mountain, its surface so bright it will be visible for miles. It is a level of craftsmanship that seems superhuman. You realize that this is not just a pile of rocks. It is a work of profound mathematical and engineering genius, a perfectly executed architectural concept, and it is all being achieved by men, with simple tools and an almost fanatical devotion to precision. You are now a seasoned veteran of the project, your body hardened by years of labour, your face tanned a deep brown by the Egyptian sun. Your strength and reliability have earned you a place on one of the most prestigious and most terrifying work crews of all. You are assigned to a team that is tasked with raising the great granite beams that will form the roof of the king's chamber, deep within the heart of the pyramid. The limestone for the body of the pyramid is quarried locally, but the granite for the inner chambers is a different matter entirely. This hard, pink-veined stone is quarried in Aswan, more than 500 miles to the south. The blocks, some of them weighing up to 80 tons, the weight of a modern locomotive, are hewn from the bedrock and then loaded onto immense barges for the long journey down the Nile. Getting them off the barges and onto the Giza Plateau is a monumental task in itself, but getting them up the ramp is a challenge of a different order. A special, reinforced section of the ramp has been built. The number of men on the hauling crews is doubled. The ropes are thicker. The foreman's chanting is more urgent. The process of hauling one of these superblocks up the pyramid takes days. The strain is almost unbearable. Every man is aware that they are not just pulling a stone, they are pulling a piece of the sacred heart of the mountain. The most dangerous part is manoeuvring the great granite beams into position, deep inside the dark, claustrophobic corridors of the pyramid. The space is tight. The work is done by the light of smoking oil lamps. You and your team must use a complex system of levers and rollers to slowly, carefully, agonizingly inch the massive stone into place. One slip, one miscalculation, and the beam could shift, crushing the men around it and sealing a corridor of the pharaoh's eternal home forever. The pressure is immense, but when the final beam is set in place, a profound sense of accomplishment settles over your crew. You have built the ceiling of the God King's chamber. You have touched the heart of eternity. Decades have passed since you first arrived at Giza as a young, conscripted farmer. You're an old man now, your back bent, your body a testament to a lifetime of hard labour. The Great Pyramid is nearly complete. The final stone, the capstone, the pyramidion, is ready to be placed at the very summit. It is a single, perfectly shaped pyramid of fine granite, which will be sheathed in electrum, a shining alloy of gold and silver. A great ceremony is held. The pharaoh himself is in attendance. You stand with the thousands of other workers at the base of the great structure and watch as the shining capstone is slowly, reverently hauled up the final stretch of the ramp. As it is set in place, a great cheer erupts from the assembled crowd, a sound that echoes across the desert. The great work is done. The pharaoh's stairway to the heavens is complete. It is a perfect, gleaming white mountain, its golden tip catching the first and last rays of the sun, a beacon of divine power. Your time of service is over. You will be sent back to your village, your duty to the state fulfilled. You look up at the monument you have spent most of your adult life building. Your hands have touched these stones. Your sweat is mixed with the dust of this place. You have seen men die here. You have worn your own body down in its service. You are a single anonymous man, one of the tens of thousands who toiled here. Your name will be recorded nowhere. But your legacy is this impossible, perfect, and eternal mountain of stone. The great pyramids of Egypt were not built by aliens, nor were they built by slaves labouring under the whip. They were built by a nation, by a massive and highly organised workforce of skilled Egyptian craftsmen and conscripted farmers. The brutal reality of their construction lies not in a story of oppression, but in the almost unimaginable scale of the labour itself, in the sheer, mind-boggling human effort required to quarry, transport and lift millions of multi-ton blocks of stone with nothing but ropes, ramps and raw muscle. The pyramids are a testament not just to the power of the pharaohs, but to the quiet, anonymous and enduring strength of the ordinary people who gave their lives and their labour to build them. When we think of the Wild West, what's the first image that comes to mind? For most of us, it's the gunslinger, a lone, mysterious figure in a dusty duster, his hand hovering over the Colt peacemaker at his hip, ready to face down a villain in an honourable duel at high noon. It's a powerful, romantic myth. But the brutal reality of the men known as gunslingers was a short, violent, and often pathetic life. The legendary duel was a fiction. The gunfights were clumsy, brutal ambushes, and the so-called heroes were usually just violent, desperate drifters, who were simply better at killing than they were at anything else. We are heading to a dusty, lawless town on the edge of the frontier, a place where a man's life is worth less than the price of a good horse. The year is 1878. The town is Dodge City, Kansas, and your life is about to take a very sharp and very bloody turn. The end of the trail is a special kind of hell. For 3 long, monotonous months, your entire world has been the Chisholm Trail, a river of longhorn cattle flowing north from Texas. Your life has been one of choking dust, terrifying stampedes, greasy food, and the constant mind-numbing boredom of watching a cow's backside. You are 20 years old, and you ache with a fatigue that has settled deep in your bones. But now, you have finally arrived. Dodge City, the queen of the cow towns. And you have 3 months' wages, a heavy pouch of silver dollars, burning a hole in your pocket. The town is an explosion of sensory overload. After the vast, empty silence of the prairie, the noise is a physical assault. Dozens of saloons and dance halls blast a cacophony of tinny piano music and drunken shouting into the street. The street itself is a wide, muddy thoroughfare, churned into a stinking soup by the hooves of thousands of cattle and horses. The air is thick with the smell of manure, cheap whiskey, unwashed bodies, and the distant coppery scent of the slaughterhouses. It is a loud, filthy, and utterly intoxicating paradise. You and your fellow cowboys, finally free from the trail's brutal discipline, intend to wash away the dust and the boredom with a flood of cheap alcohol and bad decisions. You collect your pay, buy a new set of clothes, and head for the nearest saloon. It is a long, narrow room, thick with tobacco smoke and the press of bodies. You push your way to the rough-hewn wooden bar and order a whiskey. It is raw, cheap, and it tastes like fire and regret. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever tasted. You are a free man in the most lawless and most exciting town in the West. The whiskey hits you hard and fast. After months of enforced sobriety on the trail, your tolerance is gone. 1 drink becomes 3, 3 become 5. The world softens at the edges. The noise of the saloon becomes a warm, friendly buzz. You drift over to a poker game in the corner, your pouch of silver feeling satisfyingly heavy in your hand. The cards are greasy, the chips are worn smooth. The other players are a mix of other cowboys like yourself, and a few hard-faced men who have the dead-eyed look of professional gamblers. The game is friendly at first, but as the night wears on and the whiskey flows, the mood begins to sour. One of the players, a big, belligerent buffalo hunter with a tangled, greasy beard, starts losing heavily, and he decides that you are the cause. He accuses you of cheating. It is a classic and very dangerous saloon script. You are young and full of whiskey and the pride of a Texas cowboy. You do not back down. You trade insults. The other players, sensing the shift in the air, quietly cash in their chips and fade away. The argument escalates. He stands up, knocking over the table. He is much bigger than you. He is a known troublemaker, a man who enjoys the casual cruelty of a barroom brawl. He draws a long, wicked-looking skinning knife. And in that moment, your drunken confidence evaporates, replaced by a cold, sharp spike of pure terror. This is not a game. You stumble backwards, your hand instinctively going to the Colt revolver at your hip. It is a clumsy, panicked movement. He lunges. The world seems to slow down. There is a deafening roar, a flash of orange, and the room fills with the acrid, sulphurous stench of black powder smoke. The buffalo hunter stops, a look of profound surprise on his face. He looks down at the dark, spreading stain on his chest, and then he collapses to the floor like a felled ox. A profound and ringing silence descends on the saloon. Everyone is staring at you. You stand there, the heavy pistol still smoking in your trembling hand, your mind a complete blank. You have just killed a man. You expect the town marshal, a stern-faced man named Wyatt Earp, to burst in and arrest you. You expect a rope. But that is not what happens. The dead man was a bully and a nuisance. No one liked him. The saloon owner is just glad the bullet didn't break his mirror. The marshal eventually arrives, takes a cursory look at the scene, listens to a few of the witnesses, and declares it a clear case of self-defense. You are free to go, but something has changed. As you walk out of the saloon into the cool night air, the whispers follow you. That's the kid, the one who shot Mad Bill. The story is already growing, transforming. In the retelling, the clumsy, terrified brawl becomes a steely-eyed showdown. Your lucky, panicked shot becomes a display of lightning-fast skill. You did not want this. You did not ask for this. But in the space of a single, stupid, drunken evening, you have acquired the one thing that is both a currency and a curse in the Wild West. You have acquired a reputation. The heavy, single-action Colt Peacemaker at your hip now feels like it weighs 100 pounds. Before tonight, it was just a tool. A useful, if not particularly accurate, piece of equipment for scaring off coyotes, or, as a last resort, for personal defense. Now it is something else entirely. It is the symbol of your new, unwanted identity. The next morning, hungover and full of a deep, soul-crushing regret, you take the gun out to the edge of town to practice. You need to understand the thing that has so violently changed your life. You quickly discover that everything you have seen in the dime novels is a lie. The idea of a quick draw, of fanning the hammer and firing a dozen accurate shots in a matter of seconds, is a fantasy. Your pistol is a simple, powerful, and deeply impractical weapon. It is heavy. The trigger pull is long and hard, and reloading it is a slow, painstaking process. You must eject each spent cartridge one by one with a small ejector rod, and then feed in 6 new copper cartridges, one by one, through a small loading gate on the side. In a real fight, you have 6 shots, and you had better make them count. The accuracy is abysmal. You set up a tin can on a fence post 50 paces away, and you cannot hit it. You move to 20 paces, and you're still missing most of the time. The sights are rudimentary, and the kick of the powerful 45 caliber cartridge is enough to throw your aim off completely. You realise that your killing of Mad Bill was not an act of skill. It was an act of pure dumb luck. A shot fired from less than 10 feet away in a crowded room. The real skill of a gunfighter, you begin to understand, has very little to do with marksmanship. It has to do with a willingness to kill, a coldness of spirit that allows you to pull the trigger when another man might hesitate. And it has to do with nerve, the ability to stand your ground in a moment of sheer terror. You spend the day firing at the tin can, the simple, repetitive act, a form of penance. You are now a man known for his gun, and you are terrified that you are not nearly as good with it as everyone seems to think you are. You cannot go back to the quiet, anonymous life of a cowboy. Your reputation, a monstrous and exaggerated beast, has taken on a life of its own. It precedes you. When you walk into a saloon, the conversations drop to a whisper. Men look at you with a new kind of respect, a respect that is laced with fear. The other cowboys, your former comrades, treat you differently. You are no longer one of them. You are the man who killed someone. So you drift. You leave the cattle crew, and you float from one dusty, impermanent boomtown to the next, following the railroads and the cattle trails. Your reputation is your only marketable skill. You find work as a guard for a high-stakes poker game. Your job simply to sit in a corner, your gun visible, a silent deterrent to any would-be cheaters or robbers. You work as a bouncer in a dance hall. Sometimes a rancher will hire you as an enforcer in a range war, a job that is just a polite term for an armed thug. But mostly, you make your living as a gambler. Your cold stare and your growing legend are often enough to intimidate a man from questioning your winnings. It is not a life of adventure. It is a life of profound boredom, of endless, smoke-filled nights in cheap saloons, of greasy food in dirty boarding houses. It is a lonely, transient existence. You make no friends. You trust no one. Every man who is friendly to you might be trying to get close enough to shoot you in the back. You are constantly watching, constantly assessing threats. The paranoia begins to eat at you. You learn to always sit with your back to the wall. You never walk down a dark alley. Your health begins to suffer. The diet of whiskey, salted meat, and stale bread leaves you with a constant ache in your gut. You have a persistent cough that you cannot seem to shake. In this world of casual violence, the greatest killer is not the bullet, but the diseases of filth and poor nutrition. You are slowly, quietly falling apart, even as the legend of your deadliness continues to grow. Your reputation has become a heavy cloak that you can never take off, and worse, it has become a target. In every town there is a young, foolish, and ambitious man, full of cheap whiskey and dime novel fantasies, who wants to make a name for himself. And the quickest way to do that is to be the man who outdrew the man who shot Mad Bill. Your fame has made you a permanent and unwilling contestant in a deadly game you never wanted to play. The challenge, when it comes, is not a formal, honourable affair. It happens in the dusty street outside a saloon in a forgotten town in the middle of nowhere. He is a boy, no older than you were when you shot Mad Bill. He is drunk and he is terrified, and he is trying to hide both of those things behind a mask of loud, swaggering bravado. He calls you out. He insults your honour, your courage, your mother. He is trying to force your hand. You do not want to fight him. There is no honour in killing a stupid, scared boy. You try to de-escalate. You tell him to go home, to sleep it off. You even offer to buy him a drink. But it is no use. A crowd has gathered. His own pride is on the line now. He has backed himself into a corner, and the only way out he can see is through you. This is the reality of the legendary Western showdown. It is not a duel between two stoic masters of the gun. It is a pathetic and deeply tragic public spectacle, a pointless ritual of masculine pride and fear. He clears his coat away from his pistol. You know, with a sick, sinking feeling in your stomach, that you have no choice. The duel is nothing like the stories. It is not at high noon. The sun is a hot, indifferent eye in the late afternoon sky. There is no formal countdown. There is only a long, terrible moment of silence. The two of you standing 50 feet apart, the dust motes dancing in the air between you. It is a battle of nerves. He is a boy, and his nerve breaks first. He draws his pistol, a clumsy, fumbling movement. It is not a graceful, lightning-fast draw. It is the panicked movement of a terrified young man who has made a terrible mistake. Your own draw is not fast, but it is steady. Your own terror has been replaced by a cold, weary resignation. You do not think. You simply react. The endless hours of practice and the muscle memory of 100 barroom brawls taking over. The two shots are almost simultaneous, a deafening, echoing roar that sends the horses at the hitching post into a panic. The air is suddenly thick with the sulphurous smell of black powder. When the smoke clears, you are still standing. The boy is on the ground, his own pistol lying in the dust a few feet away from his outstretched hand. The crowd, which had been holding its breath, lets out a collective sigh. They begin to whisper. They are not horrified. They are thrilled. They have just seen a legend at work. They look at you with a new level of awe and fear. You do not feel like a legend. You feel sick. You turn, without a word, and walk back into the saloon. You need a drink. You need to wash away the taste of another man's death. Your reputation is now sealed in the blood of a boy, and the loneliness that surrounds you feels more profound than ever. Your growing, and now bloodier, reputation makes you a strange and dangerous commodity. You drift to another town, a place called Tombstone, a silver mining boomtown that is drowning in its own lawlessness. The town's business council, desperate to impose some semblance of order on the chaos, makes you an offer. They want to hire you. They want to pin a badge on your chest and call you a deputy marshal. The idea is almost comical. They want to use your lawless reputation to enforce the law. It is not an offer of redemption. It is a business proposition. They are not asking you to be a peacekeeper. They are asking you to be their hired gun, to do the dirty work of taming the town, to face down the cowboys and the outlaws that they are too afraid to deal with themselves. The pay is poor. The life expectancy is worse. But it is a steady job, and you are tired of the drifting, tired of the gambling, tired of the constant gnawing uncertainty of your life. The alternative is to drift further into the outlaw life yourself, to join a gang and live the life of a hunted man. You have seen where that road ends. It ends at the end of a rope or in a dusty ambush. So you accept. You pin on the tin star. And you find that the job is not so different from your old life. You are still a man who lives by the gun. But now your violence has the thin veneer of legality. You are still an outcast, feared by the very respectable citizens who have hired you. But now, you are their outcast. You are the monster they keep on a leash to hunt other monsters. Years pass. The town of Tombstone is tamed, partly by your efforts, but mostly by the relentless march of civilization. The railroads, the banks, the churches. The Wild West is dying, and you are a relic of a bygone age. You are older now. The fire in your belly has been replaced by a weary ache. Your hands are not as steady as they once were. Your legend, however, is bigger than ever. You are a living fossil, a man whose story is told in dime novels from New York to San Francisco. But you are still a target. In fact, you are a bigger target than ever. There is always a new generation of young men, their heads filled with the very legends that you helped create, who want to test themselves against the best. You are sitting in a saloon in some half-forgotten town, nursing a whiskey, and you see him, a young man at the other end of the bar, watching you. He has the same hungry, foolish, and terrified look in his eyes that you once had. The look of a man who thinks a gunfight can make him a king. You know, with cold, hollow certainty, that your luck has a finite number of chances. The life of a gunslinger does not have a retirement plan. It does not end with a quiet farm and a rocking chair on the porch. It ends here, in a saloon, with a foolish young man, over a spilled drink or a crooked card. You are no longer the fast young kid. You are the old bull, waiting for the young bull to make his move. And you know that one day, sooner or later, he will be faster. The gunslinger of the Wild West is one of the most powerful and enduring myths of America. He is the lone hero, the rugged individualist, the man who brings justice with a six-gun. The brutal reality was a short, violent, and often squalid life, lived by desperate and lonely men on the fringes of a brutal and rapidly changing world. They were not heroes. They were a violent symptom of a violent time. The double at high noon was a fiction. The reality was a clumsy, terrifying, and often pathetic affair. A brief, smoky burst of chaos that usually ended with one man dead and the other just a little closer to his own unmarked grave. The fastest gun in the West was almost always just the next man to die. When we think of the art of the great Muslim Caliphates, we often think of intricate geometric tiles and magnificent domed mosques. But the highest art form of all, the most revered and the most sacred, was the art of beautiful writing, calligraphy. We imagine a serene, pious scholar, effortlessly creating flowing lines of perfect script. But the brutal reality of becoming a master calligrapher was a life of grueling physical discipline, years of monotonous, repetitive practice, and a constant nerve-wracking pressure to achieve an almost inhuman level of perfection. It was less a gentle art and more a sacred, high-stakes craft, where a single misplaced dot could be a spiritual and professional catastrophe. We are travelling to a city of scholars and poets, a vibrant hub of the Islamic Golden Age. The year is 950 AD. The city is Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. And you are a young boy who is about to begin the long and often painful journey to mastering the art of the pen. You are an apprentice, a tilmidh, in the workshop of one of the city's most famous master calligraphers, an ustad named Ibn Muqla. Your father, a prosperous merchant, has paid a handsome sum for this apprenticeship. To be a master calligrapher is to be a respected and often wealthy member of society. But you quickly learn that the path to this revered status is paved not with glory, but with tedium and endless menial labour. You will not be touching a pen for a very long time. Your first job is to make the ink. This is not a simple matter of opening a jar. It is a messy, smelly, and painstaking process. You spend your days in a smoky corner of the workshop, carefully burning oil in a lamp under a small clay dome to collect the fine, black soot. You then scrape this soot into a stone mortar and begin the long, grinding process of mixing it with a solution of gum arabic, which will bind the soot particles together. It is a slow, methodical process, and your master is a harsh critic. If the ink is too thick, it will not flow from the pen. If it is too thin, it will bleed on the paper. Your other primary task is to prepare the paper. Paper, a technology that has arrived from distant China via the Silk Road, is a precious commodity. Each sheet must be prepared perfectly before the master will deign to write on it. You take a raw sheet of paper and carefully coat it with a thin, starchy sizing made from rice or wheat. After it dries, you lay it on a flat wooden board and begin the most monotonous task of all, burnishing. You take a large, smooth, heavy stone or a piece of polished glass, and for hours you rub it back and forth across the surface of the paper until it becomes as smooth, glossy, and non-porous as a sheet of ivory. Your arm aches, your mind wanders, but you cannot stop. The quality of the final calligraphy depends entirely on the perfection of the surface you are preparing. After months, perhaps a year, of this grueling and unglamorous work, you are finally deemed ready to handle the most important tool of your trade, the qalam, the reed pen. But you do not simply pick one up. You must learn to make your own. Your master takes you to the banks of the Tigris River, to a place where the finest reeds grow. He teaches you how to select the perfect reed, one that is mature, hard, and has a rich golden colour. Back in the workshop, you learn the high art of cutting the nib. This is a delicate surgical procedure that will determine the quality of every letter you ever write. Using a special razor-sharp knife, you must carve the end of the reed to a perfect angled point. The angle of the cut, the shape of the nib, the tiny incision made to create the ink reservoir. Every minute detail affects the flow of the ink and the character of the script. Your first few attempts are clumsy failures, the reed splitting and cracking in your nervous hands. The pen is an extension of your soul, the master tells you, his voice sharp. If your soul is clumsy, your pen will be clumsy. You spend what feels like an eternity just practicing this one vital skill. Finally, you have a pen that the master deems acceptable. Now, surely, you will learn to write the beautiful flowing words of the Quran. But no. The next stage of your training is even more humbling. You are given a piece of practice paper, you dip your new pen in the ink, and you're instructed to make a single rhombic dot. Then another. And another. For weeks on end, your entire world is the making of perfect dots. This is the heart of the science of calligraphy. The dot, made by pressing the full nib of the pen onto the paper, is the basic unit of measurement for the entire Arabic alphabet. The height of the letter, alif, the first and most important letter, must be a precise number of dots, usually between 5 and 7. The width of a bow must be a certain number of dots. Every curve, every line, every swash of every letter is governed by a strict mathematical system of proportion, all based on the size of the dot produced by your own hand-cut pen. Your training is not just art, it is a rigorous and deeply demanding form of geometry. After you have mastered the dot, you graduate to the letter alif. The aleph is a single, straight, vertical stroke. It seems simple. It is the most difficult letter of all. You must draw a perfectly straight, perfectly proportioned line with a subtle, elegant taper at the end. Your hand trembles. Your lines are wobbly, too thick, too thin. The master looks at your pathetic attempts and sighs. You are thinking with your hand, he says. The line does not come from the hand. It comes from the shoulder, from the spine, from the breath. He shows you the correct posture, a rigid, upright position that you must hold for hours. He teaches you to control your breathing, to draw the stroke on a slow, steady exhalation. You practice the Aleph 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Your hand cramps, your back aches, your mind screams with the sheer soul-crushing boredom of it. But slowly a change occurs. The movements become more fluid. Your body and the pen begin to move as one. You are not just learning a letter. You are learning discipline. You are learning patience. You are learning to control your own body, your own mind, to subordinate your own impatient will to the perfect abstract beauty of a single straight line. After you have mastered the individual letters, you begin to learn the great classical scripts of your age, the Aqlam al-Sittah, the 6 pens. These are the 6 canonical styles of cursive script that were perfected by the great masters before you. Each has its own distinct character, its own set of strict proportional rules, and its own specific purpose. Learning them is like learning 6 different but related languages. You begin with asterisk, nask, asterisk. This is the clear, elegant, and highly legible script that is used for copying the Holy Quran and other books. It is the workhorse script, designed for clarity and ease of reading. It is disciplined, balanced, and serene. Mastering, nask, is the foundation of your craft. You spend years copying out pages of text, focusing on the consistency of your letters, the evenness of the spacing, the smooth, rhythmic flow of the words across the page. Then you move on to the more majestic and more difficult scripts. You learn Thuluth, the king of scripts. It is a large, powerful, and dynamic script, with long, elegant vertical strokes and deep curving bowls. It is not used for copying books, but for grand, monumental inscriptions, on the walls of mosques, on ceremonial documents, on the frontispieces of the most luxurious manuscripts. To write in Thuluth is to make a grand statement. It is a script that demands confidence, a mastery of complex overlapping compositions. You learn Muhaqqaq, a script similar to Thuluth, but with sharper angles and more horizontal sweep, a favourite for the grandest Qurans. You learn Rayhani, a more delicate version of Muhaqqaq. You learn Tolki, the elegant, flowing script used by the Caliph's chancellery for official decrees. And you learn Rika, a smaller, more informal script used for personal correspondence. Each script requires a different mindset, a different rhythm, a different kind of control. You are not just a writer, you are an actor, and you must be able to inhabit each of these 6 distinct and demanding roles with equal skill. You've graduated from your apprenticeship. You are no longer a tilmid, but a junior calligrapher, as katat, and your skill has earned you a coveted position in a royal scriptorium, the Kitabkhana. This is not the small, quiet workshop of your master. This is the great art factory of the Caliphate, a place where the most magnificent books in the world are created. And you discover that the creation of a book is not a solitary pursuit. It is a collaborative and highly specialized team effort. You, the calligrapher, are the star of the show. Your work, the sacred text itself, is the heart of the book, but you are surrounded by a team of other master craftsmen. After you have finished a page of calligraphy, you pass it on to the illuminator, the Muddahib. He is a master of gold. He takes your stark black and white text and surrounds it with a breathtakingly intricate frame of gold leaf and vibrant colour. He adds the golden roundels that mark the verses, the magnificent sun-like medallions that mark the chapters. Then the page may go to the painter, the naqash, who will add an even more elaborate carpet-like border of geometric or floral designs. the arabesque, that pure mathematical art form that is the signature of your civilization. He works with a brush made from a single squirrel hair, his details so fine they seem to be the work of a machine. While you are all working, another craftsman is preparing the cover. He is the bookbinder, the mujallid. He takes fine leather, often goat or sheepskin, and creates a magnificent cover, often with a stamped, gilded central medallion and an intricate flap that protects the foredge of the book. It is an assembly line of genius. Each stage of the process is handled by a different master, a different guild. The final product is not the work of one man, but a symphony of different arts, all working together to create a single, perfect object of devotion and beauty. The Caliph himself has issued a great commission. He desires a new copy of the Holy Quran, one that will be the most magnificent and perfect manuscript ever created, a testament to his piety and the glory of his reign. The entire Kitabkhana is thrown into a state of heightened and very anxious activity. Only the finest, most experienced masters are chosen for this project, and you, though still young, have been selected to be one of the primary scribes. It is the greatest honour of your life, and the most terrifying responsibility you have ever faced. The preparations alone take months. The finest paper, thick and glossy, is imported from Samarkand. The purest gold is beaten into impossibly thin leaves for the illuminators. The deepest, most vibrant blue pigment made from ground lapis, lazuli imported at immense expense from the mountains of Afghanistan, is prepared for the painters. Every material must be perfect. The master of your scriptorium, your new ustad, designs the layout of the entire book, the number of lines per page, the size of the margins, the style of the script. You are tasked with writing the main body of the sacred text in a flawless classical Naskh script. The pressure is almost unbearable. You must produce page after page of perfect, consistent calligraphy. Every letter must have the same height, the same angle. Every word must be perfectly spaced. Your hand cannot tremble. Your mind cannot wander. Before you begin each day, you perform a ritual of purification. You wash your hands, you quiet your mind, you say a prayer. You are not just a scribe, you are a channel for the divine word of God. You feel the weight of the 114 chapters of the sacred text, the thousands of verses that must flow through your hand and your pen without a single mistake. The work is slow, meditative, and incredibly stressful. You work for hours in a state of absolute concentration, the world outside your small focused space ceasing to exist. Your own personality, your own artistic flair, must be completely suppressed. Your job is to be a perfect, transparent vessel. You are halfway through a page that has already taken you 2 days of painstaking work. The script is flowing perfectly, your rhythm is steady, and then it happens. A moment of lost concentration, a slight involuntary tremor in your hand, and a single elegant curve on the letter, none, is slightly too long. It is a tiny, almost imperceptible flaw, but to your trained eye, and to the eye of your master, it is a glaring, ugly scar on the face of a perfect page. A cold dread washes over you. In the unforgiving world of calligraphy, there is no undo button. The ink made from permanent carbon is soaked into the fibres of the expensive burnished paper. You have ruined the page. Your first instinct is to crumple the sheet in despair, but the master has taught you the difficult art of the correction. It is a terrifying, high-stakes surgical procedure. You take a special, razor-sharp knife, a knife that is used for correcting mistakes. Your heart is pounding. Your hand, which was so steady just moments ago, is now slick with nervous sweat. You hold your breath. You gently, carefully begin to scrape the surface of the paper where the flawed letter is. You must scrape away the very top layer of the paper fibres, removing the ink without creating a hole or a rough patch on the glossy surface. It is a process that takes an agonizingly long time. The slightest slip of the knife, the slightest bit of too much pressure, and the page will be irrevocably destroyed. After what feels like an eternity, you have done it. You have managed to lift the flawed ink from the page, leaving a slightly abraded but workable surface. You then take a smooth stone and carefully burnish the spot, trying to restore the original gloss. Now, you must perform the even more difficult task of rewriting the letter, of matching the ink colour and the line weight so perfectly that the correction is invisible. It is the most stressful thing you have ever done. This, you realise, is the true test of a master. Not just the ability to create perfection, but the skill and the nerve to repair imperfection. The Great Quran is nearly complete. The hundreds of pages of sacred text, which you and the other scribes have so painstakingly copied, are finished. Now it is time for the final, glorious touches. The master of the scriptorium, as a sign of his great trust in your skill, has given you the honour of creating the main frontispiece, a magnificent calligraphic panel, or lever, that will be the first thing the Caliph sees when he opens the book. You are not to use the humble, legible Naskh script for this. You must use the king of scripts. You must use Thuluth. This is not just writing. This is architectural design. You must take a short verse from the Quran and transform it into a powerful, dynamic, and perfectly balanced composition that will fill the entire page. You spend days making preliminary sketches, working out the complex visual rhythm of the piece. The tall, elegant verticals of the letters, alif and lam, will be the great pillars of your design. The deep, sweeping bowls of the letters, nun and ya, will provide a sense of movement and grace. You must carefully weave the letters together, sometimes stacking them, sometimes elongating a stroke to connect one word to another. The spaces between the letters, the negative space, are just as important as the letters themselves. It is a complex visual puzzle, a form of abstract music. You are not just writing a sentence. You are creating a visual representation of the majesty and the infinite complexity of the divine word. When the design is finally perfected, you take the final immaculate sheet of paper. You mix a fresh pot of the blackest ink. You take your finest, sharpest kalam, and you begin. Your hand is steady now. Your breath is controlled. The lines you create are bold, confident, and full of a dynamic, spiritual energy. This is not the work of a humble copyist. This is the work of an artist, a master in your own right. You have found your own voice, your own hand, within the strict ancient rules of your craft. The finished piece is a masterpiece, a silent, powerful symphony of black ink on a white page. The Great Quran is finished. It is presented to the Caliph in a grand ceremony at the palace. The Caliph is astounded by its beauty, by its perfection. He declares it the greatest treasure of his reign. Your master is rewarded with a robe of honour and a purse heavy with gold. And your own name, your work on the magnificent frontispiece, is mentioned in the presence of the court. And with that, your life changes. You are no longer an anonymous craftsman toiling in the scriptorium. You are a celebrated artist. Wealthy viziers and merchants now seek you out, commissioning you to create calligraphic panels for their homes. Your work is in demand. You are invited to the literary salons of the city's elite, where you are treated not as a servant, but as an honoured guest. Your opinion on matters of art and poetry is sought. It is a strange and heady experience. In your culture, the art is revered above the artist. The calligrapher is meant to be a humble vessel, his personality erased in favour of the sacred text he is writing. But in the sophisticated, competitive world of Abbasid Baghdad, the greatest calligraphers are celebrities, superstars. Their signature on a piece of work can increase its value 100-fold. They have followers, students, and imitators. You now have your own workshop, your own apprentices. You are a man of means, of status, but you never forget the lessons of your own grueling apprenticeship. You remember the endless hours of grinding ink, of burnishing paper, of practicing that single perfect dot. You know that your fame is built on a foundation of discipline, humility, and thousands upon thousands of hours of silent, painstaking work. Decades have passed. You are an old man now, an ustad, a master, one of the most respected calligraphers in the great city of Baghdad. Your hand is no longer as steady as it once was, but your eye is sharper than ever. You sit in your sunlit workshop, watching a new apprentice, a young boy with ink-stained fingers and a look of intense, frustrated concentration on his face. He is practicing the letter, Aleph, and his paper is a graveyard of wobbly, imperfect lines. He looks up at you, his eyes full of despair. "Master," he says, "I will never get it right." You smile a faint, slow smile. You take a reed pen, dip it in the ink, and on a clean sheet of paper, with a single, slow, and perfectly controlled exhalation, you draw a flawless alif. It is a thing of breathtaking simplicity and profound beauty. You will, you tell the boy, but you must not try to make a perfect line. You must simply be the perfect line. You look around your workshop, at the scrolls and the finished pages, at the tools of your trade. You understand now that the way of the calligrapher is not just a path to creating beautiful art. It is a path to shaping the self. It is a lifelong spiritual journey, a form of meditation that requires the complete harmony of the hand, the eye, the mind, and the soul. It is a sacred duty to preserve and to beautify the divine word that is the foundation of your world. The art of Islamic calligraphy was not just beautiful writing, it was the ultimate expression of a civilization's devotion to the word. It was a sacred science, governed by precise mathematical rules, and a spiritual art that required a lifetime of grueling discipline and unwavering focus. The master calligrapher was a paradox, a celebrated artist who was expected to be a humble, transparent vessel, a creator of profound beauty through the endless, monotonous repetition of simple forms. He was a man who sought to find the infinite in a single perfect dot, and to capture a fleeting whisper of the divine in the silent, graceful, and eternal flow of the pen. We all have this pristine, marble-white image of the ancient Olympic Games, don't we? A glorious festival of noble competition, sportsmanship, and perfectly sculpted athletes competing for nothing more than honour. It's a lovely thought. It's also completely wrong. The truth is that getting to the ancient Olympics was a journey into the heart of chaos, and surviving it was an achievement all on its own. You're about to embark on a long, dusty road to the year 472 BCE, to a place called Olympia, and you're about to discover that the games were less about friendly competition and more about a 5-day religious festival of ritual sacrifice, organised violence, and really, really terrible sanitation. The journey begins, as most ancient journeys do, on foot. You are a simple olive farmer from the rocky hills surrounding Athens, and for years you've heard the stories. Stories of godlike athletes, thundering chariots, and the immense festival dedicated to Zeus himself at Olympia. This is the year you finally go. The great Pan-Hellenic Games, the one event that unites all of Greek-speaking peoples, or at least gets them to stop killing each other for a few weeks. A sacred truce, the Ekecheria, has been declared by heralds travelling from city-state to city-state. For the duration of the festival, all travellers to Olympia are supposedly under the protection of the gods. No wars, no banditry, no getting robbed on the highway. Supposedly. You've packed light, a water skin, a hunk of hard bread, some olives, a few silver coins tied in a cloth, and a wool cloak that serves as your coat, your blanket, and your pillow. Your sandals, which felt so sturdy leaving your farm, already feel suspiciously thin against the hard-packed dirt roads. The sun is a merciless white-hot coin in a hazy sky. Dust coats your tongue and grinds between your teeth. It gets into your eyes, your clothes, everywhere. This isn't a scenic road trip. There are no charming roadside inns, no friendly rest stops. Every night, you find a patch of ground, wrap yourself in your cloak, and hope for the best. You travel with a small group of others from your village, banding together for safety. Because while the truce is a nice idea, everyone knows a bandit with a hungry family isn't going to be terribly impressed by your religious pilgrimage. Every stranger on the road is a potential threat. Every rustle in the bushes at night makes your heart hammer in your chest. The journey takes weeks. You cross rugged mountains and parched plains. You wash in cold streams and drink from them, hoping the water is clean. It's a grueling test of endurance, and the games haven't even started yet. You start to wonder if this whole thing was a terrible idea. Maybe you should have just stayed home and listened to your uncle's exaggerated stories about the time he saw a wrestler's ear get torn clean off. Then, after what feels like an eternity of walking, you smell it. Or rather, you smell them. A strange, thick aroma on the wind. A combination of wood smoke, roasting meat, wine, and the unmistakable scent of thousands upon thousands of unwashed human beings. You climb one last dusty hill, shielding your eyes against the glare, and you see it. Olympia. But it's not the city of marble temples and serene statues you imagined. It's a sprawling, chaotic, temporary metropolis of tents, stalls, and humanity, simmering under the relentless late summer sun. You have arrived, and the chaos is just beginning. From the hilltop, the scene below is one of pure, unadulterated chaos. A vast, sprawling camp has erupted on the plains around the sacred precinct. Tens of thousands of people, all of them men, as married women are strictly forbidden from attending on pain of death, have converged on this single spot. It looks like a massive army has decided to have a picnic. Tents of dyed cloth stand beside crude lean-tos made of branches. The air, thick with dust and heat, buzzes with 1,000 different noises. You can hear the sharp clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the bleating of sheep destined for sacrifice, the aggressive haggling of merchants, and a constant rolling murmur of countless conversations in a dozen different Greek dialects. As you descend into the throng, the scale of it is overwhelming. You are jostled and pushed by muscular Spartans, elegant Corinthians, and boisterous Sicilians. You see philosophers in deep debate, completely oblivious to the chaos around them, while poets stand on crates, trying to shout their latest verses over the din. Everyone who is anyone in the Hellenic world is here, and so is everyone else. It's a sweltering, dusty, vibrant cross-section of your entire civilization. There is no welcome centre. No one hands you a map or a schedule of events. You are simply disgorged into the middle of it all, left to fend for yourself. Your first priority is securing a place to sleep. And by place, you mean a small patch of dirt that you can claim as your own. You eventually find a spot near the river Cladeos, squeezing between a group of fishermen from Megara and a family of sculptors from Argos. You lay down your cloak. This is your home for the next 5 days. Your neighbours are already well into their jug of wine, and they offer you a swig with a friendly, if slightly unsteady, gesture. The wine is rough and sour, but it cuts through the dust in your throat. You look around at your temporary neighbourhood. There are no bathrooms. There are no designated trash heaps. The river and the surrounding fields serve as both. The sanitation situation, you realise with a sinking feeling, is going to be rustic. Night falls, but the noise doesn't stop. 1,000 campfires prick the darkness, and the sounds of music, singing, and drunken arguments fill the air. The smell of roasting meat is maddeningly tempting, and vendors weave through the crowd selling skewers of questionable origin at exorbitant prices. You guard your coin pouch carefully. This isn't just a festival, it's a marketplace, a convention, and a massive, poorly organised party all rolled into one. You lie down on the hard ground, your cloak pulled up to your chin, and stare at the unfamiliar stars. You are exhausted, overwhelmed, and a little bit scared, but you are here. You are at Olympia. Tomorrow, the gods will be honoured, and the games will begin. You just have to survive the night first. You wake with the dawn, not to the sound of a rooster, but to the booming voice of a herald announcing the official start of the festival. Today is not about sports. Today is about the reason you are all here. The gods. Specifically, the big guy himself, Zeus, king of the gods, whose festival this truly is. Everything else, the running, the fighting, the glory, is just an elaborate offering to him. You pull on your dusty tunic and join the great river of humanity flowing towards the Altes, the sacred enclosure at the heart of Olympia. This is the one area that feels permanent, a walled-off precinct of temples, altars, and treasuries. Pushing through the dense crowd, you catch your first glimpse of the Temple of Zeus. It is immense, a masterpiece of columns and marble that seems to dwarf everything around it. You can't go inside just yet, but you've heard the whispers. Within that temple sits a statue of the god so vast, so magnificent, that it is considered one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. 40 feet tall, crafted from ivory and gold, a sight said to move men to tears. For now, you just stare at the temple's exterior, feeling a profound sense of awe. This is the centre of your world, in a very real sense. The real business of the day, however, is happening at the great ash altar of Zeus. It isn't a beautiful marble structure. It's a conical mound, 20 feet high, made from the accumulated ash and grease of centuries of sacrifices. And today, it's going to get a whole lot bigger. A grand procession leads 100 oxen into the Altes. This is the hecatomb, the ultimate sacrifice. The air grows thick with the smell of nervous animals and the sharp, coppery tang of blood. Priests in ceremonial robes begin the ritual. Throats are cut, the ground darkens. The choice cuts of meat, the thigh bones wrapped in fat, are burned on the altar, the smoke rising as a savoury offering to the heavens. The rest of the meat will be cooked and distributed later. A massive barbecue for the masses. Nearby, an even stranger ritual is taking place. The athletes, the pride of their city-states, are led to the altar of Zeus Horkios, Zeus of the Oaths. Here they stand before a frightening statue of the god holding a thunderbolt in each hand. They are not swearing on a stack of books. Instead, a freshly sacrificed wild boar is sliced into pieces before them. The athletes must stand over the bloody, dismembered animal and swear a solemn oath that they will compete fairly, that they have trained for the required 10 months, and that they will accept the judge's decisions without argument. It's a deeply serious, incredibly graphic moment. A powerful reminder that this isn't just a game. It's a sacred contract sealed in blood. You watch, wide-eyed, as these perfect physical specimens make their vow. Tomorrow, they will try to destroy each other. But today, they are united in their piety. The sun beats down on the second day. The air is still hazy with the smoke of yesterday's sacrifices. Today, the athletic contests begin in earnest. You and tens of thousands of other spectators make your way to the stadium, the running track. There are no grandstands, no numbered seats, no luxury boxes. The stadium is a simple long rectangle of packed earth, flanked by sloping grassy embankments. And you are one of the thousands crammed onto those embankments. You find a patch of dry grass and settle in for the long haul. There is no shade. None. The sun is a physical weight pressing down on you. You pull a corner of your cloak over your head, creating a tiny patch of shadow, and take a careful sip from your water skin. A herald's trumpet blast cuts through the crowd's murmur, and a hush falls. He announces the first and most prestigious event, the Stadion Race. A single sprint, one length of the stadium, about 200 meters. This is the original Olympic event, the one that defines a true champion. The athletes file in through a stone archway, and they are all completely, unabashedly naked. They are gleaming with olive oil, which has been slathered over their bodies to accentuate their muscles and theoretically protect them from the sun. The crowd murmurs in appreciation. These are the finest physical specimens in the Greek world, and this is the ultimate stage. They take their places at the starting line, a long stone slab called the balbus, with grooves cut for their toes. The tension is palpable. Crouched in their starting positions, they are perfectly still, coiled springs of muscle waiting to explode. A few yards away, a judge stands holding a long forked switch. He is the enforcer of the rules. There are no starting blocks, no electronic sensors. But there is a very simple and effective deterrent for a false start. A sharp, painful flogging in front of 40,000 people. The system works remarkably well. The herald gives the signal. The athletes erupt from the line in a cloud of dust. It's a blur of pumping arms and churning legs. The crowd roars, a single wave of sound that washes over you. From your position on the bank, it's hard to pick out a single runner. It's just a mass of straining, oiled bodies. The race is over in less than 30 seconds. A runner from Croton breaks the tape first, collapsing into the arms of the officials. The crowd goes wild for him. The losers simply walk away. Their moment of potential glory vanished in a flash. There's no slow motion replay, no photo finish. The judge's decision is final. You cheer until your throat is hoarse, caught up in the raw, explosive energy of it all. This, you think, wiping sweat from your brow, is what you came for. After the runners have had their moment, the atmosphere in Olympia shifts. The energy of the sprint gives way to a darker, more primal anticipation. The crowd drifts towards a different area, a levelled-off patch of sand that will serve as the ring for the combat sports. This is where the real brutality begins. There are no weight classes here. There are no rounds, no time limits, no point system. The contests are simple, brutal, and designed to end with only one man standing. This is what the crowd craves. The display of pure, unadulterated human force. First comes the wrestling, the pale. Two oiled athletes meet in the sandpit, circling each other like predatory animals. The goal is to throw your opponent to the ground 3 times. It's a grueling battle of leverage, strength, and stamina. They grapple under the searing sun, muscles straining, sweat and sand caking their bodies. Every throw is met with a roar from the spectators. But this is just the appetizer. The main course of violence is next, the pagmakia, or boxing. The fighters come forward, and you see that their hands are not bare. They are wrapped in himantes, long, hard leather thongs. These are not protective gloves. They are weapons, designed to concentrate the force of a blow and split open the opponent's flesh. A pair is chosen by lot. A hulking giant from Thebes is matched against a smaller, wiry fighter from Syracuse. The size difference is comical, but no one is laughing. The fight begins. There is no fancy footwork, no dancing around. They stand toe to toe and trade devastating blows. The sound is sickening. A wet, percussive thud of leather on skin and bone. Within minutes, both men are bleeding. A gash opens over the Syracusan's eye, and blood streams down his face, turning the sand at his feet into dark mud. He spits a tooth onto the ground and continues fighting. The crowd leans forward, mesmerized by the savagery. The fight goes on and on, under the relentless sun, until the smaller man, his face a swollen mask of blood and bruises, finally raises a single finger in the air, the signal of surrender. The Theban giant, barely looking any better, is declared the victor. He gives a bloody grin to the cheering crowd. This, to them, is the pinnacle of athletic virtue. But even the raw violence of boxing is not enough for the most hardcore fans. For them, there is the pancration. The name translates to all power, and it's a fitting description. It is the ancient world's version of mixed martial arts, but with far fewer rules. It is a terrifying hybrid of boxing and wrestling where almost anything goes. Kicking, choking, striking a downed opponent, applying agonizing joint locks. It's all perfectly legal. The only 2 things officially forbidden are eye gouging and biting, though you hear whispers that even those rules are sometimes loosely enforced. The pancratiasts are a different breed of athlete. They are not the lean sprinters or the powerful wrestlers. They are scarred, cauliflower-eared behemoths who look like they've survived a lifetime of back alley brawls. They are, to put it mildly, terrifying. You watch as a match begins. It starts with a flurry of kicks and punches, but quickly devolves into a desperate grapple on the hot sand. One man gets his opponent in a chokehold from behind, his forearm crushing the man's windpipe. The trapped man, unable to breathe, doesn't give up. Instead, he falls backward, twisting as he goes, and viciously stomps on his opponent's foot, trying to snap the ankle. The crowd is on its feet, screaming encouragement, their bloodlust palpable. An old man standing next to you tells you a story from a few Olympic Games ago, about a famous pancratiast named Aricion. Trapped in a chokehold just like this, with his opponent's legs wrapped around his body, Aricion knew he was about to die. In a final desperate act, he reached down and seized his opponent's ankle, twisting it with all his remaining strength until the joint dislocated. The sudden, searing pain caused his opponent to release the choke and signal his surrender. At that exact moment, Aricion's neck snapped and he died. The judges, in a moment of what could only be described as grimly logical sportsmanship, lifted the dead Aricion's hand and declared him the victor. A posthumous victory. You look back at the 2 men currently trying to maim each other in the sand. The story doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. This isn't just a sport, it's a fight to the absolute limit of human endurance, and sometimes beyond. The man in the chokehold finally taps the ground in submission, gasping for air. The winner gets to his feet, bloody but triumphant. He's a hero. You are just glad you don't have to fight him. For a complete change of pace, you follow the crowds as they surge towards the Hippodrome, the track for the horse and chariot races. If the combat sports are about raw individual power, this is about something else entirely. Wealth. Owning a racing chariot and a team of thoroughbred horses is astronomically expensive. This is the sport of kings, tyrants, and the fabulously rich. And you notice something peculiar. The men who are listed as the competitors, the ones who will be crowned champion, are not the ones risking their lives on the track. They are the wealthy owners who watch comfortably from the sidelines. The actual driving is left to hired professionals, men whose lives are considered entirely expendable in the pursuit of their master's glory. The Hippodrome itself is a vast open field with a central dividing wall. There is no protective barrier for the crowd. You just stand along the edge of the track, hoping for the best. A trumpet sounds, and the chariots file out. It's a magnificent sight. Dozens of them, some with 2 horses, some with 4. The wooden chariots are light and fragile. The horses are high-strung and powerful. The drivers are a mix of young, fearless boys and grizzled, scarred veterans. The tension is electric. A complex starting gate, an invention of incredible ingenuity, ensures a fair start. When the ropes drop, the race begins with a thunderous explosion of hooves and a roar from the crowd. It is 12 laps of pure adrenaline-fueled chaos. The long straightaways are a thundering charge, but the real action is at the tight turning posts at either end of the track. This is where races are won and lives are lost. Dozens of chariots hurtle towards a single point, each driver fighting for the inside line. The air is filled with the shriek of tortured wheels and the desperate shouts of the drivers. Inevitably, there are crashes. A wheel shatters, a chariot flips, and suddenly there is a horrifying tangle of splintered wood, screaming horses, and broken men. The other racers thunder past, trying desperately to avoid the wreckage. There are no red flags, no safety crews. The race simply continues around the carnage. You watch, mesmerized and horrified, as a driver is thrown from his chariot. He had tied the reins around his waist for better control, a common but deadly practice. He is dragged behind his panicked team, trampled by the horses behind him. By the time the race is over, he is a mangled ruin. The winner, a driver for a wealthy aristocrat from Athens, crosses the finish line to a deafening cheer. The owner accepts the olive wreath with a smug smile, taking all the credit for the victory. The driver, coated in dust and sweat, his life having been on a knife's edge for the last 15 minutes, gets a pat on the back and perhaps a small bonus. It's a stark, brutal lesson in the realities of class and glory. Some things, you reflect, never seem to change. As thrilling as the events are, your day-to-day existence as a spectator is anything but glorious. Let's be honest with ourselves. The actual experience of attending the ancient Olympics is, for the most part, absolutely miserable. You've been here for several days now and the novelty has worn off, replaced by a grim struggle for survival. The number one enemy is the sun. It is a constant, oppressive force. There is no shelter. You are exposed to its full fury from dawn until dusk. Your skin is burnt, your lips are cracked, and you are in a perpetual state of dehydration. Finding clean water is a daily challenge. The few springs and fountains are perpetually mobbed, with long lines of thirsty, irritable men pushing and shoving. The river is an option, but considering it's also the primary latrine for 50,000 people, you decide it's a risk you'd rather not take. So you pay the inflated prices charged by water vendors, handing over your precious coins for a lukewarm cupful that only momentarily quenches your raging thirst. Food is a similar story. The smell of cooking meat is everywhere, but it's expensive. You live mostly on the hard bread and olives you brought with you, jealously guarding your dwindling supply from the swarms of flies that seem to cover every surface. And then there is the sanitation, or rather the complete and utter lack of it. The entire Olympic site is a festering pit. The stench of sweat, spoiled food, animal waste, and human excrement hangs in the hot, still air. The fields and groves surrounding the sanctuary are used as open-air toilets. Disease must have run rampant. You do your best to watch where you step, but it's a losing battle. At night, you collapse onto your patch of dirt, exhausted. But sleep is difficult to find. The camp is never quiet. The noise is a constant 24-hour assault on the senses. Philosophers are still debating loudly, drunkards are singing off-key, and merchants are still trying to sell you a souvenir good luck charm. You lie there, swatting at mosquitoes, listening to a man snoring 3 feet from your head, and you dream of a clean bed and a quiet room. This is the reality of the Olympic experience for the common man. It's not a vacation. It's a test of your immune system, your patience, and your tolerance for filth. You are hot, you are hungry, you are dirty, and you are surrounded by tens of thousands of other people who are in the exact same condition. It's less of a prestigious sporting event and more like a grueling 5-day music festival without the music or the plumbing. On the 5th and final day, the games conclude. The competitions are over, the dust has settled, and it is time to honour the victors. There are no medals of gold, silver, and bronze. The prize, the only official prize given at Olympia, is far simpler, and, to the ancient Greeks, far more meaningful. It is a wreath of twisted olive branches, cut with a golden sickle from a sacred tree that grew behind the temple of Zeus. One by one, the champions are called forward. The boxer with his swollen face, the sprinter, the owner of the winning chariot team. They are crowned before the adoring crowd, transformed from mere mortals into living legends. This simple crown is a symbol of something much greater. Kleos, immortal fame. When these men return to their home cities, they will be treated as heroes, almost as gods. They will be showered with gifts. They will be given free meals for the rest of their lives. Statues will be erected in their honour, and celebratory poems will be commissioned to ensure their names are never forgotten. They have achieved a form of immortality. Their victory has brought immense prestige to their hometown, a currency just as valuable as gold in the competitive world of the Greek city-states. And what of the losers? For them there is nothing. No prize for second place, no participation trophies. There is only the shame and humiliation of defeat. The poet Pindar wrote that the defeated would slink home through the back alleys, by secret ways, sore bitten by misfortune. In this world of extremes, there is only the glory of victory or the disgrace of failure. There is no middle ground. The festival dissolves as quickly as it formed. The great tent city is dismantled. The crowds melt away, beginning their long and arduous journeys home. The grounds of Olympia are left littered with the debris of the massive gathering, quiet once more under the hot Greek sun. You pack your meagre belongings and turn your back on Olympia. The long walk back to Athens awaits. You are exhausted. You are filthy. You are significantly poorer than when you arrived. Your body aches, and you're not sure you'll ever get the smell of the place out of your nostrils. But as you walk, you carry with you the stories. The image of the naked runners exploding from the starting line. The sickening crunch of a boxer's blow. The thunder of the chariots. The sight of a man crowned with nothing but leaves, yet having won everything. You came seeking the glory of the games, and you found it, but you also found the grit, the blood, the filth, and the chaos. You have seen the brutal, beautiful, and terrible reality of it all, and that is a memory that will last a lifetime.